Heavy Mark as an individual displays excessive arrogance and selfishness as well as being continuously irrational. He has a history of doing terrible things purely for his own benefit, such as bullying a 12-year-old, manipulating him into giving him nudes just to have leverage over him, yet totally oblivious to the possible damage to the victim and clearly does not seem to realize how wrong what he did was. He also has a habit of starting fights with lower ranks on the Discord server because they are supposedly
not taking the group seriously enough.
And he typically does this over minor issues. I agree with what the leader, Elijah, is saying here about moving on from the issue, but instead of explaining that issue clearly to his members, he proceeds to let everyone guess what has happened, as if it's a game of I Spy. It is embarrassing that one of his own members can acknowledge the situation better than the leader himself. A leader should surely have more common sense than this. Elijah insists that Halima gives a mature, detailed explanation on what happened when there is nothing that can justify what Halima has done. Why is this incompetent leader trying to save Halima when there is clear proof of what he has done to the victim? It cannot be justified. Is there anything this
leader
knows how to do properly? Helimark is so eager to get revenge on a child that he decides to threaten him with nudes in order to deal with the situation. For whatever reason, Paluto is trying to find Helimark a way out of what he did when it doesn't matter how or what happened. It is still illegal either way. Why is he trying to find a way to justify this? Paluto is the current leader of the disorder, and he's just as incompetent as the last leader, Elijah. Helimark states that he did it to mentally break his victim, and says afterwards that he does not care, which displays him as a cruel sociopath. Elijah thanks everyone for participating in the discussion and that it gave him an insight into people's personalities. This proves that he only did it for the attention and does not probably seem to care about what happened. Helimark continues to defend himself, and here he tries to blame the victim for what happened. Paluto displays constant lack of reason and only does actions based on his own interest. He does not tolerate any form of competition and will do anything to ensure he and the group he leads stays on top. This is shown by how he goes to war against smaller groups solely for the purpose of total dominance. He shows himself to be irrational as he is incapable of seeing significant wrongdoings of his own members. An example is how he does not do anything about Helimark and his constant lack of reason as a high rank, and he tends to be bothered over little trifles instead. Paluto even went as far as attempting an IP log on a member, something that is illegal to do, and he has even defended this action afterwards. Paluto is intoxicated with false opinions and bias. He shows a big ego. This is seen by his self-proclaimed title,
King of Spam.
In debates, he instantly labels his opponent's opinion wrong and lacks logic behind his reasoning. He is oblivious of this, whilst usually having opinions of this sort himself. Even when he cannot argue against something, he refuses to acknowledge that he has been proven wrong, and carries on talking to make sure he has the last say on the matter. He seems to turn a blind eye to his own actions as well. He refuses to acknowledge things that can drag down his reputation. He is a generally narcissistic hypocrite who views himself as above everyone else. Paluto refuses to take advice and criticism from others. This sets him back greatly as a
leader.
In these screenshots, as we can see, Paluto is attempting to defend Helimark, who begged a 12-year-old for nudes and generally has an awful personality, and attempts to excuse Helimark's actions by his loyalty to the Order. Apparently, when it comes to the Order, loyalty overrules an illegal cybercrime committed by an Order member. This shows his absolute lack of proper reasoning and having incredibly terrible opinions. Here he is saying that he basically does not argue fairly. This is a sign of a hopeless as well as useless
leader.
The orders are... The order's finished.